When Wizards announced that there wouldn't be Commander precons with the Avatar: The Last Airbender set, I was pretty disappointed. But the longer I thought about it, the more I realized I love building decks. Why don't I just make them? So that's exactly what I did. I built 4 different decks, each one led by one of Aang's 4 teachers, and they all aim to win the game using their specific style of bending. And originally I planned to cover all 4 decks in one video, but it turned out to just be way too long. So today we'll start with Katara, Water Tribe's Hope, and the Waterbending deck, and then over the next 3 days I'm going to upload the next 3 videos for the other 3 decks. So daily decks for the rest of the week. I built all of these decks with a pre-con budget, so the market price for each deck is right around $60. And I know it can be hard to get an entire deck list at market price, so best case scenario, hopefully you have a good LGS or you can optimize your cart well, and you should be able to get most of these cards for about the price of a pre-con. But whether you're a brand new player getting into Magic for the first time because of Avatar, or you just want to try out the new mechanics on a budget, I think you'll find something you like here. I designed all of the decks to have different game plans, so hopefully you can find something that fits your playstyle. And remember, I'm uploading for the next 3 days, so check back for the other decks, and if you're watching this way in the future, they're probably already linked in the description. Alright, Book 1, Deck 1, Waterbending. This is a pretty aggressive deck that wants to deploy a bunch of small evasive threats, like little drops of water, and then build them up into this big wave that's just going to crash over your opponents, using the commander, Katara, Water Tribe's Hope, as a win con. So she costs 5 mana, she's a 3/3, she has Vigilance. When Katara enters, you make a 1/1 white ally creature token, and then she has Waterbend X. Creatures you control have base power and toughness XX until end of turn. So basically, the idea of the deck is to play a bunch of small creatures that are evasive, can't be blocked, have flying, and eventually you're going to cast Katara when you're ready to win, and use Waterbending to make all of those unblockable evasive creatures into very big creatures. So the first category of cards in the deck is little evasive creatures, and we are just playing a ton of creatures that either have flying or just straight up can't be blocked. These all cost just 1 or 2 mana because you really want to deploy as many of these as possible, and they're all pretty similar, you know? Can't be blocked, can't be blocked, protection from creatures, which means can't be blocked. Mischievous Mystic is a good one because it's going to make you more evasive creatures every turn as long as you can draw 2 cards, which is really easy in this deck. And then you have some like Looter Ilkor, Wharf Infiltrator, Malcolm, Shoreline Looter. These are looters, creatures that when they deal, first of all, can't be blocked or are evasive, and when they deal combat damage to a player, you can loot, you can draw and discard. So it's a pretty simple category, but it's a big one. I think there are 21, 22, 23 just small evasive creatures. With those creatures, you want to generate a lot of card advantage. So the next category is Coastal Piracy, and every version of Coastal Piracy that's been printed since, basically. Coastal Piracy says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. So all of these unblockable creatures, every time they get in for damage, are going to draw you a card, and we have multiple versions of this effect. Bident of Thassa, Starwinder, the newest one, Enduring Curiosity being the most expensive one because it brings itself back at least 1 time from the graveyard. Most of these effects cost 4 mana, so if you can play turn 1 unblockable creature, turn 2, turn 3, more unblockable creatures, by turn 4 when you cast one of these, you're going to be drawing a lot of extra cards. So we have a bunch that trigger off of every creature dealing damage, but then we also have a few equipment versions that trigger off of the equipped creature dealing damage. So Mask of Memory, when equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you can draw 2 cards and then discard. Rogue's Mask, draw a card. Goggles of Night, scry 1, then draw a card. Assassin Gauntlet, draw a card, then discard a card. So these are just extra card draw. You can equip them to one of those unblockable creatures to just draw extra cards. And then don't forget that Waterbending not only allows you to pay mana for the cost, but you can also tap artifacts and creatures. So each of these, if they're sitting on the battlefield, you can tap them to add 1 extra power to all your creatures once you cast Katara. And speaking of tapping creatures, we want to be able to tap all of our creatures to also add more power with Waterbending. So the next category is Vigilance. We're going to try to build up this board and give all of those creatures Vigilance. So we just have a bunch of effects that will give our entire board Vigilance. Simple Sarah's Blessing, Always Watching, +1/+1 and Vigilance.
Felidar Retreat puts +1/+1 counters on all your creatures and gives Vigilance. Odric doesn't specifically give Vigilance, but once Katara is on the board, it'll give everything Vigilance. Loyal Unicorn does the same thing with Katara on board. Heliod also gives Vigilance and can make extra creature tokens if you need them. We've got a couple more categories of cards that are just going to help us get there. Number one being mana rocks. I won't spend too much time on these. You know, ramp is good, and each of these are going to help you get stuff out faster, play more creatures, and also just add more power to your waterbending finisher in Katara. The next category is protection. Since this Katara win con is pretty telegraphed, people are going to figure out, oh, you're going to play Katara and try to overwhelm me with waterbending. We have ways to protect Katara. So you want to, since you're drawing so many cards, you're probably going to get to some of these. A few counter spells that'll just protect Katara from removal on the turn you're trying to win, plus a few ways to protect your board. We have Clever Concealment. It has Convoke, so you can tap creatures to cast it. And remember, if you're giving everything Vigilance, your creatures are going to be untapped. You could theoretically cast this with no mana available. Same with Artistic Refusal. It's a counterspell. It has Convoke. Aang, Swift Savior, is sort of a counterspell. It can airbend target creature or spell when it enters. So he can, the way he would, protect Katara once she comes in and you're trying to win the game. He also serves as kind of a backup plan in that you can Waterbend 8 to transform him. So you could tap all of those unblockable creatures to transform Aang, and then when he attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on each tapped creature you control. So sort of functions as a backup plan in that he can help you pump your entire board of unblockable creatures. If Katara gets removed, or if you can't find an opening to actually cast Katara, you could use Aang as a backup plan. Diamond City is one of my favorite protection cards recently. It enters with a shield counter on it, and then you can tap it to move that shield counter onto a creature if 2 or more creatures enter the battlefield this turn. Well, when you cast Katara, she comes with a 1/1 ally token. So on the turn that you cast Katara, you can 100% activate Diamond City to give her that shield counter. And then Raise the Past is kind of another form of protection. It's sort of board wipe insurance. Return all creature cards with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That is pretty much all of your unblockable creatures. So as a creature-based deck, this deck's biggest enemy is board wipes. If someone wipes the board, you can just 4 mana rebuild your entire board of unblockable creatures. All right, then we've got a small package of interaction that focuses on just killing everything. Destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. That's going to be none of your creatures for the most part. Dusk does the same thing, destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater, but also has the Aftermath side that says return all creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand, so helps you rebuild if your board does get wiped. Split Up, destroy all tapped creatures or destroy all untapped creatures. If all your creatures have Vigilance, they're always untapped. If you haven't given them Vigilance yet, they're all going to be tapped from attacking. So you can just choose the mode that's going to be most beneficial for the situation you're in and get a bunch of creatures off the board. And then Kabira Takedown, I mean, it's a land, you know, but it's free. It's a free spell. Might as well include it. We're going to have a lot of creatures on board. It's a quick, easy removal spell. And then the last category here is, let's call it pump effects, backup plans, right? Collective Effort, it's also removal. It can destroy a creature with power 4 or greater, destroy an enchantment, or put a +1/+1 counter on each creature target player controls. Plus, the escalate cost is tap an untapped creature you control. Well, if all your creatures have Vigilance, they're going to be untapped. So you could do all 3 of those modes. You can pump your entire board, destroy an enchantment, destroy a creature. Very effective card in this deck. Abandoned Air Temple puts a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. It just pumps your board. If you can't get Katara out, this will pump all your unblockable creatures. Grand Architect basically does the same thing. Other blue creatures you control get +1/+1. So it's an anthem for all of your little unblockable creatures. And you can tap a blue creature to add 2 to your mana pool, spend it only on artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts, so you can use it to cast your equipment, cast your mana rocks, equip your equipment. And then Jacked Rabbit is just a token maker. It's going to make you a bunch of creatures. It has Ravenous, so you pay into X, whatever X is, it comes into play with that many +1/+1 counters. Whenever it attacks, you make a number of 1/1 White Rabbit creature tokens equal to its power. If this thing just makes you 3 or 4 tokens on the turn it attacks, if that happens to be the turn that you play Katara, that's 4 extra bodies to put into Waterbending. Even if they're not unblockable, they're just going to help make the rest of your stuff bigger. So that's Waterbending, that's Katara. It's a pretty simple deck. Play unblockable creatures, draw cards off of them, give them Vigilance, use Katara to turn them into an unstoppable tidal wave of damage. I got the deck sleeved up. I just want to goldfish a game here because it's a really straightforward game plan, so it's pretty easy to show you exactly how the deck should function. Oh my god, this is so hard to shuffle. Can you just cut this for me? Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is a pretty good opening hand. I mean, we have 3 of our counter spells, so maybe I didn't shuffle that well, but we have an evasive creature, we have a way to draw cards, and that's really all we want to see in the opening hand. So let's just try to play with this. Draw for turn, play an island, pass. Turn 2, we'll draw, play a plains, and Mischievous Mystic. Turn 3, please be a land. There we go. So with 3 lands, we'll pay 2, Mask of Memory, 1 to equip it, and then we'll go to combat, we'll attack with the Mystic. When it deals combat damage to a player, we'll draw 2 cards, 1, 2, then we'll discard a card. Well, we're not gonna need 3 counter spells, so we can discard that. We drew a second card, so we'll make a fairy. Do I have a fairy token? All right, fine, a bird, close enough. And now we're heading into turn 4 with 2 flying attackers on board and enough mana to play Reconnaissance Mission, one of our coastal piracy effects. So now we'll go to combat, 2 flying attackers. When they deal combat damage to a player, we draw a card, so 2 cards off of that, plus Mask of Memory. We'll draw 2 cards and then we'll discard. But at this point, we have everything we need in hand. We have a way to give Vigilance, we have a way to protect Katara, we have more evasive attackers, we have more card draw. Honestly, maybe the Thought Vessel. We also have to go down to hand size, so do we need 3 counter spells? Probably not. We also make another bird, so 2 birds. Then, turn 5. We've got 3 attackers, we're gonna draw some cards. Let's see, still not a land. The only thing we're missing from the plan is enough lands, so let's just go to combat, we'll attack with everything. 3 instances of combat damage, we'll draw 3 cards, plus 2 for Mask of Memory. Then we have to discard 1, we'll just discard one of these attackers because we are not gonna need it. Land for turn, we're up to 5. We've also drawn our second card, so we'll make another fairy, and at this point, we're ready to just play more attackers. So 2 mana, Vidalcan Infiltrator, for 1 blue mana, Siren Storm Tamer, and we can either keep up Counterspell if we're worried about a board wipe, or we can just play more attackers. Silent Hall Creeper. All right, now we'll go to turn 6. We'll untap everything. Draw for turn, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 evasive attackers on board. And at this point, the last piece of the puzzle is Vigilance. We want to give all our creatures Vigilance. So we're going to play that after combat. We'll go to combat, draw a bunch of cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards, plus 2 for Mask of Memory. Makes another bird. We have to discard 1. At this point, does it really matter? And now we can play something that's going to give our stuff Vigilance. So for 4 mana, Felidar Retreat, then sure, why not? Another attacker. And then we have to discard down to hand size. Doesn't really matter at this point what we discard. Turn 7. This is the turn where we're going to try to win the game. Draw a card. Play a land for turn. 5 mana to cast Katara. Katara comes with an ally token. Now we have 2 mana up for protection, for counter spells. We've played a land this turn, so we're putting a +1/+1 counter on all our creatures. They all have Vigilance, and now we go to combat. We attack with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 evasive attackers, either unblockable or with flying. 9 attackers with Vigilance. They all have a +1/+1 counter on them. Before damage, we activate Katara's Waterbending ability. We're going to Waterbend X. We can tap any number of creatures, artifacts, and lands to pay for this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And now all of these evasive creatures have 12 power and 12 toughness, and that should be enough to close out the game with protection for whatever your opponents try to do to interact with it.
Now, before I close out the video, I have an announcement. Maybe, I think, my first ever announcement for this channel. Number 1, I just want to start by saying thank you so much for the support over the last year that I've been doing this. I originally started this channel as just a little side project for fun, but it's really grown into something that I want to take more seriously than just a side project. So I decided to finally launch channel memberships. Now, obviously this is a way to monetize the channel so I can afford to dedicate more time to it, but I also want to try to use it as a way to build a little community. I thought about making an Instagram or Blue Sky or whatever, but I honestly just don't want to spend any more time on social media. So instead, I decided to make a community Discord server for channel members as a place to just talk about Magic with you. I want to use it to share deck ideas, get feedback, even just react to new cards with other Magic fans. But I also want to use the Discord to play Commander games with the community. I think right now the biggest thing that limits me from making more videos is just being able to play test my decks. I actually don't get to play Commander that often. I meet up with my play group a couple times a month, and I'm usually working on more deck ideas than I can actually test in person. I'm not sponsored by Wizards or anything. I don't get early access to new cards, and I like to actually test and refine a deck before I'm comfortable making a video about it. So if I miss a couple game nights because I'm traveling or sick or whatever, it really holds me back from making a video. So if we have a Discord where we can coordinate games over webcam or spell table, that would really help me playtest decks and potentially release videos more often. And I know a lot of people have been asking for gameplay videos with my decks, and while I'm not quite prepared to make that type of content yet, I think uploading some of our Discord games as members-only videos is definitely something I can do in the meantime. So if you're interested in connecting with the community, getting an inside look at my upcoming ideas, and potentially helping me test new decks, feel free to join as a channel member. I would assume that YouTube puts a button for it somewhere down near subscribe. Regardless, thank you for all the support on this little side project throughout the year, and if the other videos in this series are up yet, you can check them out on screen right here. Thanks for watching.